SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
This is Gerard Gibert, and thank you for listening to MidDays here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to MidDays, SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm your host, Gerard Gibert, on location today at the Golden Triangle Development LINK location here, the new Cinco mega site celebration. Unveiling that today. That's what we're here for. Rhino safe and sound back in the SuperTalk headquarters. We'll be guiding you through the middle of your day with facts, fodder, and fine music on this
Friday Eve.
Yeah, man, we are here ready to get going. Wow, there's so much stuff going on. It's kind of fun, honestly, tracking all this stuff. One big, beautiful bill up in Washington appears to be coming together. However, there are some who are, I guess, dissenting on the legislation, mainly the delegation from New York that wants more generous salt caps than what are contemplated in the legislation. $30,000 state and local tax deduction. That's what the bill would allow. Presently, that's a limit of $10,000. They want to see that go up substantially. Do those folks that represent the great state of New York. Really hard to tell where all that's going to land. But will they support it? Will they get on board? Or are they going to hold out to get what they feel like is necessary for their constituents? Hard to tell at this point. The big, beautiful bill also has some reforms to the Medicaid program, would in fact impose work requirements on the able-bodied adult population, the coverage group. That would not apply to the state of Mississippi because that coverage group is what is better known as Medicaid expansion, came about as part of the 2010 Affordable Care Act, should be called the Unaffordable Care Act, to be more accurate. But, man, the Democrats, are they ever just wailing and gnashing teeth? There's protest. You've seen this all over the place about this. Oh, my gosh, people are going to die, get kicked off the rolls, etc. Again, these are able-bodied adults who need to have their butt out working. And all the government's saying here is, hey, look, we're going to give you free health care. You got to go to work. You're able-bodied. You can work. This is not the same as the other traditional Medicaid safety net coverage groups, such as the impoverished elderly, seniors, or the disabled, or the blind. I think it's reasonable that there should be some sort of safety net society provides. Now, what that needs to look like and how that should be funded is certainly up for debate. And whether or not the government should even be involved is up for debate. But I would just say, as compassionate humans, we should have some concerns for those who are unable to help themselves, for example. And then the category of children, which is honestly the largest coverage group of the 76 million covered by the Medicaid program. It's looking like that Medicaid is the new elephant in the room. in both federal and state budgeting. It's now approaching $1 trillion a year combined federal and state. Total funding, total spending on the program. In the state of Mississippi, keep in mind, it's greater than the general fund combined federal and state. We literally rely on the federal government. This is something we need to change. For our very existence with respect to the healthcare industry in our state. Over $7 billion a year comes from the federal government to provide the health insurance for some 750,000 Mississippians enrolled in the Medicaid program. And then the state government, state taxpayers, they foot about $1 billion a year to add to the federal match to fund the entire program. It's an $8 billion a year program. At the federal level, it's $620 billion. Now, one of the big problems is that under the Biden administration, they changed the eligibility rules to make it easier to get enrolled, easier to stay on. And now the states are finding it very difficult to unravel that. Even people who are no longer eligible, especially if they only check in once a year. And you say it all the time, Rhino. It's the folks who say, well, that's not my problem. That's who we're relying on. That's a problem. It's not my problem. Isn't that how you describe it, Rhino?
Not my problem.
Yeah, not my problem. Got it. And when there's no interest in really ensuring that people are legitimately eligible and qualified for that benefit, well, what you end up with is a lot of people that are sucking those benefits from the government that honestly are taken away from those that are truly legitimately eligible for them. And then, of course, there's this perverse federal match where the able-bodied adult coverage group gets more money from the federal government. That was all part of the incentive. It was more of a bribe, you could call it, from the Obama administration when they passed the law to encourage and persuade states to expand Medicaid. Hey, we'll give you 90%. Actually, it started out at 100%. They covered it all. The federal government did. And over a 5-year period, it phased down to 90%. That's where it sits today, which is crazy. Because the people who are truly in the legitimate safety net category, the federal government, pays the states less to take care of them than they do the people who are able-bodied who can work. That's Democrat logic at its finest, or illogic, as you may call it. On the C Spire text line, let's see. I'm seeing what's it say here? I'm seeing that online, but sounds way too high. Oh, here we go. Did they also approve $300 billion in cuts to food assistance for low-income families? Well, what they did with the SNAP program is simply change the work requirements there, extended the age. So right now, to qualify for SNAP benefits, there is a work requirement, although it, as you know, Rhino, could easily be scammed. That's part of the problem with this work requirement stuff, because there's like a number of other endeavors, you could call them, or other ways to qualify and satisfy the work requirement that don't actually require work, such as you're a student, you're being educated, or I think if you're looking for work in some situations, that could qualify, or you're providing some sort of community service. All of that can qualify, but what they're trying to do with the bill is actually increase the age. Right now, that caps out at 54, age 54, and now they're saying, okay, you've got to work to qualify for food stamps even if you're over 54 but less than 64. I don't think that's unreasonable. So all this bill, the Republicans that crafted that language are saying, people between 54 and 64, they should be able to work. I think 54 is a little early to call it a day. Most people don't, unless they've had some sort of financial event in their life that would permit them to do so. So we already have some degree of work requirements to qualify for SNAP benefits. Also, keep in mind that the question on the text line was $300 billion in cuts. Keep in mind that that's always over 10 years, so it's about $30 billion a year. I don't think it amounts to quite that much in the analyses that I've seen. That is stipulating a work requirement over the age of 54, but under the age of 64. That's I think a fairly straightforward change. I don't think that's estimated to save quite that much money, but it's a reasonable requirement, I would say. And so this is something that's been talked about for a while. Republicans have not really had the numbers to get that done. I dare say not a single Democrat in the Senate will support this legislation. I don't see any really in the House supporting the one big beautiful bill as well. We're stepping aside for a break. Once again, we're at the Golden Triangle, the Development LINK organization. Joe Max Higgins, he's the CEO of Golden Triangle Development LINK, is coming up next.
Why'd I go to the doctor?
This segment of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Let's do this.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Let's go.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. We're live in the Golden Triangle today. We're with the Golden Triangle Development LINK, and it's our pleasure to welcome now Joe Max Higgins, the CEO of the Golden Triangle Development LINK. Joe Max, always good to see you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Big old day to hear unveiling this fantastic mega site. One thing that I think we have to acknowledge is that the governor, he understands that it's critical to have these sites developed, ready to go, shovel ready, I like to call them. How important is that when you're recruiting industry?
Well, I mean, without it, you're not gonna really play on the big deals. They want to come in, know that they can go, and because it takes them a while to get it designed and then go.
Yeah.
And they can't wait a year or 2 years for due diligence to be done for the soil borings or the wetland studies. They gotta know.
Yeah.
Most of these companies are missing profitability every day they're not running.
Yeah, it's speed to market. It's the name of the game, especially the rate at which things move in our economy these days. So, do you have any thoughts about what might be the appropriate suitors for this site? Beautiful land, by the way.
Well, thank you. Well, when we did the first mega site, we thought it was an automotive assembly plant. We did the second mega site, we thought it was an automotive assembly plant. When we did the third one, we thought it was an automotive assembly plant.
Yeah.
Well, we're making steel, we're making aluminum, we're making tires, and we're making diesel engines. Still no automotive assembly plant. But I tell people that generally the projects find us. And generally they fit into what we're putting together.
Okay.
We've already shown this on a very competitive project state or nationwide. It was 13 state search, and it was huge. It was 5 million square feet of building, several thousand jobs, and so my guess is this is going to emerge as the preeminent mega site in Mississippi. Just because of its size and its attributes and all the stuff, and generally they're not going to stay on the market long.
Right.
And the way we've done it is the county's bought it. We're going to be infrastructuring it. We generally try to do all that work up front, so when company comes, and if we have a special session and the legislature gives them money, they can spend that inside the fence, offsetting their cost. Whereas if they go somewhere else, they got to build a road, they got to build a sewer line, they got to build something else. So. I'm in high hopes that we'll move it fairly quickly, but you never know.
What's the attraction for this area, this region of the state, Joe Max?
Well, I think you got major university down the street. You got the community university. You do have these other major industries that make stuff that, especially in the steel and aluminum arena. it's only safe to assume that getting somebody that uses steel or aluminum as a raw product to make their finished product is probably a likely suspect. But we see defense-related industries looking at it, aerospace companies looking at it. Of course, they can use aluminum. So there's a wide range of things that could probably go on this site, and it's so big. The renderings that we got out in the tent, there's 3 of them. And one of them has an automotive assembly plant. If you want to know what an automotive assembly plant looks like, we've got it shown. There is a 4 million square foot building with a host of smaller buildings. When I say smaller, million square feet buildings. There's one drawing that has a 6 million square foot building on it. That's PACCAR, Yokohama, the steel mill, and the aluminum mill all together. That's how big that site is and how big a major building can go.
Speaking of steel, aluminum, how might the president's tariff policies figure into that, Joe Max, for domestic production?
Yeah, I think there are guys on the steel and aluminum. I think they're in good shape. They like where they are. That's a pretty protected industry
right.
Anyway.
Well, that's what I was thinking. It'd be probably boosted.
Yeah, it is. And but some of our other guys now are they're not faring as well. PACCAR. They import parts for the engines. They export the engines and stuff like that. So they're getting hit coming and going on some of this stuff. It just depends on which industry you are, how it hits you.
Yeah, I see. Well, I think all that will find some equilibrium and sort out, and hopefully that's in everybody's benefit. That's the goal.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. How long you been working on this? Can you tell us?
The Cinco?
Yeah.
Well, so 2 years.
Okay.
Just about 2 years. When the aluminum mill came, the aluminum mill took 2,200 acres. The biochar took 100 acres. And there is a future project that we've been holding land for 300 acres. So we automatically lost 25, 26, 2,700 acres. Water, sewer, publicly owned, gone.
Yeah.
We found ourselves with our drawers pulled down. And so very quickly we said, let's start finding another site to develop.
Sure.
We went to the landowner, negotiated that pretty quickly. He gave us 2 years to close on the property. During that 2 years, we did all of our due diligence.
Okay.
Cultural resources, wetlands, floodplain stuff, soil borings. Never in the history of TVA has anybody scoped a site for electricity. Normally, a company comes in and they say, well, it'll take 24 months to engineer and plan it, 24 months to build it. That's too long. We paid money up front to have it scoped for 150 megawatt load.
Smart.
And then they finished that in probably late fall. We bought the site. We anticipate getting a grant in June to design the water, sewer, and pump station. We anticipate maybe getting an award today to build the water tank and the water line. And we're well on our way. But about 2.5 years, and we're ready to sell it now.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And again, how important is that when you can show a prospect, like you said, they kind of find you. They probably already know everything you're doing, right? They know this site's prepped in the state it is in.
Well, one of the things we did, we named it Cinco. And that's my idea. It's a mic drop idea. Well, why do you call it Cinco? Because it's our 5th one. Okay. Tupelo has one. Chattanooga has one. Huntsville has one. We have 5.
Yeah.
But we put together a promotional box with authentic Mexican food and snacks and stuff, and named it Cinco, and sent it out to the 100 most prominent site development consultants in the country.
Yeah.
They got them on the 5th of this month.
I got you. That makes sense.
And we're getting call after call. The girl that certified this mega site got one. I took her to dinner last night with a group, and she said, I've shown this to everybody that'll look. There was more thought put into this, and you have our business talking about your site as a result.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So infrastructure is critical as well in economic development. You're blessed here with fantastic infrastructure, but my guess is you're going to need more.
Oh yeah. So when we started the first mega site, we had 2 water tanks out here and 2 wells and a small wastewater plant. All of those have been expanded, substantially expanded. We've got about 3 million gallons of surplus sewage capacity available today. The Cinco mega site gets a 1 million gallon tank. That's tied to 2 million gallons across the road. It gets 2 more wells. that's tied to 4 wells across the street. So we will have 4 million gallons of water in the air.
Fantastic.
About 7,500 gallons of pumping capacity, treatment, and then 3 million gallons of sewer. Most places don't have that.
Yeah. You're serviced by TVA from a power perspective. I'm certain this is going to require some investment on their part. Where do they stand?
It is. Well, and again, that scoping process is where it's unique.
Okay.
When they finish this, they will have their right of way, they will have their environmental done, they will have the material list of everything they need, and we will be able to commit to a company within 24 months. We'll have your juice up to 150 megawatts.
Yeah.
Now, will there be a cost to the company? Sure, but it won't be insurmountable. It won't be something that they can't or won't do.
Yeah. Well, and that's become a huge issue, as you well know, in economic development, that he who's got the power has got the currency to bring in the deals.
And this area is the most robust, redundant power that TVA has maybe in the system.
Okay.
You've got the biggest electricity customer on the whole TVA system is the steel mill.
Sure.
When the aluminum mill goes online, I think it will be the 3rd biggest customer on their system. Those 2 companies will constitute Atmos Gas's number 1 and number 2 customer on their multi-state system. So we're already set up for big.
Joe Max, to those out there who are maybe concerned about how this might impact the availability of power and even electricity rates, what's your response to that?
Well, TVA, Entergy, Southern Corporation, all these guys are going to have to make more.
Yeah.
Good news, I guess, and bad news. TVA has a group that is looking at power to 2035 and then to 50. I've been invited to be on that committee. At my last meeting, Meta and Google sat beside me, and SDI was in the room. So you got the big boys sitting there talking about where are we, what are we doing. TVA is building a new 550 megawatt power plant in Caledonia in Lowndes County right now.
Yeah.
There's already a combined cycle plant up there, and there was a 3rd one planned a few years ago, and we're trying to get them to go ahead and pull the trigger on the 3rd one.
I think it's nothing but good news. And the other cool thing is that you're seeing the actual users get involved in the process as well.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know we always had that, but we're seeing that now for sure. Joe Max, always a pleasure talking to you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Great work. Joe Max Higgins, CEO of Golden Triangle Development LINK. Up next is Bain Nichols, president of Nichols Wealth. Stay with us.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
It is
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. We are broadcasting live today from the Golden Triangle at the Development Link, the Golden Triangle Development Link, celebrating Cinco, the Cinco mega site. As you heard Joe Max tell us, Joe Max Higgins, he's the CEO of the GTR Development LINK. He told us that's because this is the 5th such site. That's where they came up with the name Cinco. But it's our pleasure to welcome now Bain Nichols, president of Nichols Wealth. Bain, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate the invitation.
You bet. So tell us about your firm.
So we're a financial planning firm based out of Columbus. Been in business for the last 20 years. Local to Columbus. Grew up in Columbus. Went to school at Mississippi State and then been back home for about 20 years. So
yeah.
Glad to be here. Lots changed.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What do you think about the topsy-turvy financial markets we've witnessed in the past 3 months? It's been something, a couple of months really, I guess.
I tell you, it's been a fun ride. You know, we try to educate our clients to stay the course and tune out the noise as much as possible, and I think the last 2 or 3 months have been a masterclass in the wisdom of that, right? You know, prior to these recent announcements we've had with the tariff deals, which have been positive, as of 2 Fridays ago, we had no good news in the on all the news media, yet the market had 9 positive days in a row.
Yeah.
Can't tell you why that happened, but those that jumped off missed it.
Yeah.
So first time this happened in 20 years, so it's been a fun ride.
Little pullback today, last I checked, and I'm not really sure what's driving that today. We got the PPI report, which looked good.
Yeah, day to day, it's driven by the news of the day, right?
Yeah.
But all in all, we're very very bullish and think there's good times ahead.
Yeah, I think you're right. The I like to think that the American equity markets really are the greatest wealth generating machine in history, and will continue to be.
That's what history shows us for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's important, is it not, Bain, that folks think about a balanced portfolio, and it really depends on their particular objectives, their age and status in life. You guys help them with those sorts of decisions?
Absolutely. Most of our retirees our clients are retirees.
Okay.
And, it looks much different today than it did 20, 30 years ago. For an average couple we work with that retires in the early 60s, we got a plan on 30 years, right? So It's still a long-term plan. So the temptation, I think, is to maybe get too conservative with it, which works if you retire at 60 and die at 65. But in most cases, we're planning on a 20 to 30-year plan even after retirement. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, a lot of people now are in their retirement years for almost as long as they work.
Absolutely.
So it becomes more critical that they think about that long-term plan across their retirement years.
Absolutely.
What do you think about the future of interest rates? Would you like to hazard a guess on that? I won't hold you to it, but that's anybody's guess at this point, right?
I spent a lot of time early in my career reading all the experts' stuff they put out, listening, and I realized I was wasting my time and everybody else's. If Trump has his way with Powell, we'll get rates lowered, but right. Powell doesn't seem to be budging thus far, so we'll see what happens. I think a report came out a few days ago that inflation data maybe come down a little bit, that may change Powell's mind. We'll see.
Seems like they're pretty much stuck that until we get to that magical 2% level, they're not going to move on it. But the market is forecasting and baking in 2-3 cuts possibly this year, just not exactly sure of the timing.
I think so, and of course the market's been pretty good in spite of the rates.
Yeah.
So I think that shows there's a lot of resilience and a lot of underlying strength there.
Yeah. How do you explain, like today you got the 10-year, the 2-year going up. We've had a pretty good run, as you just explained, with equities. Usually those go in different directions, but that's not the case right now. What's up?
It's been inverse here for sure. It's a type thing. It's like the market short term. It's hard to decide or figure out what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Most of what we do for our clients is long-term equity strategies.
Okay. Of course, the Congress is in the process of negotiating the one big beautiful bill. Details released. Looks like there at least one hurdle or two have been passed with Ways and Means and the energy subcommittees. How much are you incorporating that into your planning? Because it could be a big difference maker.
Well, so for most retirees, their biggest partner is the federal government in the form of taxes.
Yeah.
So taxes are a huge part of our financial plans. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of talk about not taxing Social Security, things of that nature. It's hard for me to fathom that with the debt our country has. They're going to be able to work that out, but we'll see. Trump's been able to push some things through.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but certainly we'll stay abreast of any changes and make the adjustments as we need to.
Well, then estate taxes, which looks like that the exemption there is going to actually increase on for inheritance, for the passing on of an estate. If the Democrats had their way, honestly, they would reduce, if not totally eliminate that. And then you got to figure that into your planning as well, right?
Absolutely. And, with that, that's a moving target as well. They're set to expire, so we'll see what happens, and we'll make adjustments as we need to. A lot of uncertainty.
Do you feel like, or do your peers, I guess, and markets in general, do you get the impression they're kind of sitting on the edge of their seat a little bit, waiting for legislation to pass, knowing that until that's the case, we're looking at the possibility of the Trump tax cuts expiring, and that investors, businesses, the markets in general are just waiting for that? Will that be a watershed event, do you think, that will power markets forward?
It's hard to imagine Trump with the group he's got up there now not getting the deal done. That's hard to imagine. I think the reality is, what is it going to look like? They probably won't get everything they want.
Yeah.
There's some pushback right now on the salt limits in New York. That's kind of the thing of the day I was hearing about.
Yeah.
But I'm optimistic they'll get a deal done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just feels like that once the president signs off on that legislation, there's going to be a sigh of relief, and we're going to see a lot of money come off the sidelines, hopefully.
Absolutely.
And into the markets, which would be good for us. Well, tell us about the local economy. I assume a lot of your customers kind of come from the local area. That's where you serve, or you got them all over?
That's the thing about the link and the work they do with these mega site programs. Certainly it benefits the thousands of people that now have jobs at these industries. I think we're up to 11,000 people now in the last 20 years, but it goes far beyond that. My business is in the financial planning business. We've got a steady stream of retirees that's coming from this industry.
Okay.
It helps us. One of my best friends is a building contractor. He builds houses for many of the guys and ladies that work out here. So, 11,000 jobs, $11 billion invested, but it's far more reaching than that, the impact. It certainly impacted our business in a positive way.
Yeah. Well, what would you tell a person who's approaching retirement and they've saved, they've got a nest egg, maybe they're thinking about, I'll just go at it on my own and I'll manage those funds through retirement, or they could engage the services of a professional such as you and your firm. What would be your pitch to them?
Yeah, so we don't have, a lot of people in our business, they pitch, we've got better investments than everybody else. The reality of it is we all offer the same stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm convinced that the dominant factor in being successful long-term in an investment is really having a thoughtful plan and the diligence to stick to that.
Okay.
And I spend a lot of my time helping people plan and then really helping really smart people from making dumb decisions.
Okay.
And so human nature is you're prone to make some mistakes along the way.
Sure.
And I'm convinced that one mistake every 15, 20 years can be really, really costly. So that's really the role we play with clients, is just helping smart people from making mistakes.
That's a good way to put it. And of course, you guys in your industry, you have access to lots of resources and assets and tools that the average person is just not going to have.
We do. And it's certainly that's there. And quite frankly, even though a lot of people probably could handle their own stuff, they've got other interests.
Yeah.
And so that creates opportunities for us. Yeah.
Well, this big mega site, the Cinco mega site, I mean, this is going to be a huge shot in the arm to what is already a very strong economy here in the region.
Thinking back, I'm from Columbus, went to school at Mississippi State. 25 years ago, driving down this highway in front of us here, Gerard, really the Golden Triangle Airport was the only thing between Columbus and Starkville.
Yeah. And
nowadays it looks much, much different, in large part to the Megasite program. And thinking about that, I think I heard maybe Joe or one of the other guests you had talking about maybe this being the easiest deal here.
Yeah.
But I want to give a lot of credit to Joe and the supervisors back 20 years ago, thinking about the investment, the guts it takes to invest the kind of capital into these projects with no guarantee.
Long-term play.
As you think about the return of, the job I play every day, we're looking at return on investment. The Megasite program has a unbelievable return on investment in Lowndes County, but we didn't know that 25 years ago.
No doubt about it.
And the people that had the guts to put the money up and to put it out there, certainly we're reaping the benefits for that today.
It's fantastic. Really big day. Bain Nichols, president of Nichols Wealth, has been our guest here on Middays. Appreciate you coming on, Bain. Thank you, man.
Appreciate the opportunity. Glad to have you guys in town.
We're glad to be here. Well, right now we're taking a break. Once again, we're at the Golden Triangle Development LINK celebrating the new Cinco mega site. We're coming right back. Stay with us.
That's a strange way to tell me you love me.
Are we going to do this?
Middays with Gerard Gibert
Keep rolling. 3, 2, 1.
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Well.
everyone. It is middays. We have relocated the Element Wealth Studio to the Golden Triangle today. We're here for the Golden Triangle Development LINK's unveiling of their new Cinco, a mega site, big celebration. We're here at in Starkville, of course, just outside Starkville, Columbus area in the Golden Triangle. This is a big deal. This mega site, beautiful parcel of land that I think is well suited for economic development. That's what it's all about. There are some renderings. You heard Joe Max Higgins, the CEO of the Golden Triangle Link, talk about possible suitors for this site. And there's no doubt about it, knowing Joe Max, he will get it done. So things are looking up here in the state of Mississippi from an economic development perspective. Really exciting times. We're fortunate to have, I would say, give a little praise to our governor who gets it, who understands the critical importance of scaling the state's economy and how far that goes towards addressing the critical issues in our state. And that starts with poverty. We are the poorest state in the union. You guys know that. We've talked about that a lot. And the way to fix that problem is to grow the economy and get people working and boost household incomes. That's how poverty is addressed, not through passing a bunch of legislation at either the federal or the state level. So we have government in the state of Mississippi that truly does get that, and so does industry. Industry understands that the state of Mississippi understands that, and that's why we're achieving these record successes with respect to economic development. Now, before we went to break, we had a question. We were talking about legislation that would address the SNAP program, the supplemental nutritional benefits, that is also known as food stamps more commonly. There are some reforms included in the legislation that is known as the One Big Beautiful Bill. Some $300 billion in cuts are projected. I think that's a bit aggressive, and there are like a dozen different specific provisions that are expected to achieve that, and the biggest one is not really so much in the actual benefit payments in the form of SNAP, the SNAP program to beneficiaries, but rather forcing states to pay a larger part, or any part actually, of the SNAP program based on payment error rates. This is a good idea, I think, because the improper payments that you've seen the Doge team exposed, and quite frankly, the CBO has been beating this drum for about 4 years. They've done some comprehensive work to expose just the improper payments across the spectrum of government, especially in these various welfare programs, such as Medicaid, such as SNAP. Doge has exposed that, and a lot of it's just sheer incompetence. It's not that we need laws to stop improper payments. We just need to stop making improper payments. So forcing the states to get more serious about that, because even though the program is funded at the federal level, it's administered at the state level. So when you put states on the hook for making sure that they don't improperly issue these benefits, they're on the hook financially. I think you'll see a significant decrease in the amount of improper payments. And then, of course, the work requirement, that is expected to also save some money, about $8 billion or so. And all that really does is change the work requirement, which is presently sits at the ages of 15 through 60. If you're over 15, under 60, then you got to work to receive SNAP benefits. The program simply modifies that, or this proposal, to change those ages to 17 and 65, respectively. So it doesn't really change the spending, other than it just requires someone between the ages of 17 and 65 as opposed to 15 and 60 to qualify for such benefits. And there's some other crazy stuff as well, such as scrapping the National Education and Obesity Prevention Program. Believe it or not, that's included in SNAP legislation. That's $5 billion a year. I dare say it's probably having zero effect, honestly. It's kind of like the war on drugs. Just we keep spending money on it, but as long as people want to put that stuff in their body, somebody will figure out a way to sell it to them. So that's pretty much a rundown of the changes in the SNAP program, and that, of course, gets tallied into the savings to go against the reduction in revenues projected from the various income tax provisions. Remember, that stuff's got to be scored and fit within all the various constraints in order for the legislation to pass through a simple majority, so-called reconciliation in the Senate, thus not requiring the 60 votes in the filibuster-proof 60 votes, because you're not going to get any Democrats to support this legislation. You're going to have to do it on your own with all Republicans, so you got to fit within those constraints. We're stepping aside for a break. Once again, we're at the Golden Triangle celebrating the new Cinco megasite. It's John Bradley and Bill Adams with TBA after Fox News and SuperTalk News.
Hour of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
Welcome to the show that challenges you to think deeply and look beyond political posturing. You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Middays. We're in the Golden Triangle today. We're here for the new Cinco megasite in Lowndes County, Mississippi. It's a big, beautiful day up here in this region of the state on this
Friday Eve.
Appreciate that, Rhino. It's our pleasure to welcome now John Bradley, Senior Vice President of Economic Development with the Tennessee Valley Authority, and Bill Adams, Senior Program Manager, Industry and Economic Development. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much for the time. Absolutely.
Well, it's a big day. This site is beautiful. Joe Max, his team, the supervisors, and you know this, you guys, it's a team effort to make these things, to pull these things off, is it not?
It absolutely is. You know, these things you put together, Joe Maxson makes it look easy. He always has. But when you put together this kind of property, this order of magnitude of challenge, and put it through the really rigorous testing that it takes to get the property certified, it takes a lot of resources, a lot of talent, a lot of commitment. But it's a beautiful site, and I think it's his best one yet.
John, he's got a lot of energy. And
energy is not Joe's.
And, you know, it seems like that if you're in business, you get excited being around him. And I think that plays a strong role in his ability to secure these projects.
Joe Max is contagious.
That's exactly. That's a good way to put it.
There's nobody like him. There never will be anybody like him. But you know, I kind of back to what Bill was saying. I mean, when we started this program back in 2002, I'll tell people one of the smartest things I did was hire Bill Adams, because this was Bill Adams. I call him the godfather of the megasite program. But look at what's happened. I mean, it changed the landscape, right, of this area. But we hired Bill as a target market specialist to recruit automotive. And Bill comes in my office, is like, hey, Bradley, I'm not going to be successful unless we got product. But I'm not talking about just finding property. I'm talking about doing due diligence. What people don't understand, we brought the consultant in to set the guidelines up, to set the criteria up. The communities did all the work, right? I mean, that's where really, we just were the enabler, really, at the end of the day. But we were able to put something together, and actually by bringing in a consultant, it kept the politics pure. Right. And we were making sure we were focused on good sites. We had a lot of people come up to us like, hey, we got 3,000 acres. I'm like, no, you got a farm. Mm-hmm. you don't have an industrial site.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to have things like infrastructure, kind of important, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But it's been an amazingly successful program. But honestly, Bill will tell you, the locals deserve all the credit.
They do.
And I mean, from the utilities that participate in this, I mean, we got our local power company here. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right? They pay the bills at the end of the day, so.
Well, it's no doubt it's incredible. Well, I was just talking to Joe Max and remarking that power energy, given kind of the industrial base that's evolving in our country and where all the growth seems to be centered, that's an essential. It's not essential. It's a necessity that is impossible, really, to attract investment without it. Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the challenge we have today in our environment that we're in. The generation demanded requires us to focus on that and get that generation up. It's the same thing with water and sewer. It's the demand's going up. Regulations are getting tighter. So weaving that tapestry of putting the infrastructure together and making sure it's available, not just available, but available when you need it.
Yeah.
And that's the part of the beauty of the program. It focuses not only on making sure the capacity is accessible, it's accessible within a certain timeline. And it's all about removing the risk and the mystery of a site and utilities and the transportation. That's what companies are looking for. They're looking for you to eliminate their risk so that when they're investing their billions of dollars, they're not at risk of construction slowdowns or stoppages and operational stops.
Yeah. Well, Mississippi, John, has a fairly business-friendly regulatory environment, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and that's why we've been able to do the things we've done. Right? I think it's very friendly. You mentioned earlier we got a great leader in economic development, the governor.
Yep.
He's done some great things. He's allowed us to support them. Allow the communities. I mean, the cool thing about the economic development business, you mentioned it earlier, it's a team sport. And the cool thing is everybody's focused on the same things. It's all about jobs and CapEx. End of the day, right? And it's also about the diversity of the industry that's coming in. But yeah, we've got a very favorable environment here, and that's why the success has happened the way it has. But again, a lot of the effort goes back to this regional group that day in and day out puts the effort in. We cover 7 states.
Yeah.
Right? And all states operate differently, but Mississippi's just done a tremendous job in the Tennessee Valley.
In economic development, it's also very competitive. It's a competitive team sport as well, Bill. But I think Mississippi fares pretty well when they throw their hat in the ring.
Yeah, they do. Their emphasis on attraction is superb. Mississippi Development Authority does a great job, and they have the right programs in place. But the beauty of what they really do is they do well is preparation. This is all about preparing. And of course, we have the Certified Mega Site program, but we also have a program called Invest Prep, which is very similar to the state site development grant program. And the governor and MDA have done a superb job of putting the resources where they're needed so that communities can advance their property, advance their teams to compete well.
Yeah, I'm going to give Bill a little credit here. He's being a little modest. So what we did, we took that model of the mega site program and started looking at smaller sites.
Okay.
Right? Because what we wanted to do is make sure, hey, we have the suppliers for those big industries that come in. Right? It makes sense. I mean, it's your downstream supply network. So Bill helped or worked with the state to develop their site program as well.
Okay.
So now you've got the state site program, you've got TVA, and we complement each other. We're not overlapping what
Makes
we're doing.
sense.
We're filling gaps they can't fill, and vice versa, right? We've got some environmental restrictions they don't have. We take advantage of that, right? And it's following the rules, but we're making sure we're using the bucks the way it really needs to be used, and quite frankly, leveraging on really what I consider quality sites, and that's why this due diligence is so important.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you get through 12 months, you decide this may not be a good site.
Yeah,
sure.
Sometimes we're doing a community favor, telling them
that makes sense.
Don't waste your money, man.
Yeah.
You got 80% of it underwater. That's not good.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So stuff like
Sure.
that. So yeah.
Sure. Bill, there's no secret, of course, that there's an explosion of artificial intelligence and data center construction across the country, and that is placing enormous demand for electrical power in particular. What do we do about that? Well, how are you guys addressing that? Because everybody's looking to you energy companies as kind of the holy grail in that respect. Our governor, of course, formed the Power Up Mississippi Task Force just to promote and study and analyze and call attention to that need.
Yeah, a lot more strategy now than we used to be. John can speak to it better than I can, actually. Yeah.
But just to put in things in perspective, okay, and it's terms won't make any, I mean, the term won't make sense, but when I start throwing numbers out, it'll make sense. So our system's 34,000 megawatts.
Right.
Currently, we've got 9,000 megawatts of requests for AI data centers alone. All right, think about that. So put that number in perspective. You can't build that quickly.
Right.
But TVA also has $7.5 billion gas bill on the books for the next 3 to 5 years. And by the way, we're even talking about extending some of the coal plants that we were going to shut down earlier because of this boom and because of this demand out there, trying to keep up with that. We're doing things that I would have thought TVA would have never done, right? And then also partnering with these AI data center, because the only way we're going to get to solutions is with them.
Right.
Because, look, they can build faster. They can they can move faster. We're federal regulated, right? We got to follow the process, and we're going to follow that process. They're under different guidelines. They can build plants quicker than we can. They can do things behind the meter we can't do. So they can help us, because utilities are trying to run people off peak.
Right.
All they're trying to do, and those are hours, not months, right? So what we're trying to do, if we keep them off peak, if they can build something behind the meter, come off peak certain hours, it's a benefit to the system. It actually benefits the system. So ironically, they're going to end up being part of our solution. So we're doing creative things with companies that I never would have thought we'd done. But when you're in a situation when you are short, by the way, not unlike any other utility out there in the country right now, everybody's dealing with the same stuff. If they weren't, they'd already be there, right? These data centers going to go with it, right? I mean, we wouldn't have 7,000 or 9,000 megabytes of requests out there just because, right? They can't find it anywhere else. So we're working together to find solutions. I'm real excited. I've been doing this for 42 years. I've been in the utility business that long. Most dynamic ever, most disruptive ever, and I'll just tell you, the most fun ever.
That's neat. Well, to your point, Microsoft and their partnership with I can't remember the company, the energy company, but it was to restart 3 Mile Island essentially to Constellation Energy, I think so.
Look, these guys have to have, that's their raw material. Electricity,
no doubt.
But Bill mentioned it too.
Yep.
It's also water.
Yep. I hear you.
And that's an expensive.
John, Bill, thanks for coming on, and thanks for being a great partner in the state of Mississippi with the Tennessee Valley Authority. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
You bet. Thanks a lot.
It's been fun. Thank you.
We're stepping aside for a break. Coming right back. Stay with us.
Pickup truck. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
What? This is so
awesome. On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Middays. Once again, we've relocated the Element Wealth Studios to the Golden Triangle today. We're here to celebrate the Cinco mega site. It is being unveiled today. It's a big old project up here. We're pleased to welcome now Merrill Fisackerly, Chief Operating Officer with the Golden Triangle Development LINK, and Kyle McConnell, Chair of the Lowndes County Industrial Development Authority. So, Merrill, Kyle, thanks for coming on. Big day, Kyle.
It is a big day. We appreciate you being here and look forward to everything that's going to be shared.
Man, it's going to be awesome. It takes a while to put stuff like this together, does it not, Merrill? A lot of work by a lot of people behind the scenes. Of course, the one that's most visible, Joe Max Higgins, the CEO of the Golden Triangle Development LINK. But a whole lot of people have to participate and contribute to pull off a big project like this.
This is true. They really do. And Joe's great at putting the team together, but, it takes all the players to make things like this happen. So.
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful site, and you've already had lots of success here in the Golden Triangle region, but no doubt with this mega site, the best is yet to come.
Yeah, we're excited for, all the industry that this is going to attract. And, we're really looking forward to working projects and highlighting this site and marketing it all across the country for the next project to come, the next big location.
Yeah, so Kyle, your board, how many board members do you have?
We have 7 board members.
7 board, yeah. They got to be excited about this as well. It's got to be fun when you see plans come together. I know sometimes you look at opportunities and you talk about projects and you think about the risk associated with that, and you want that to pay off for sure, but it's paying off big here in the Golden Triangle.
It is, and it's been a lot of fun. Several of us on the board hadn't been involved with the mega sites before, and so being in on the beginning of it and seeing how it all comes together and working with Joe's team and seeing really how smart and cutting edge they are has been a lot of fun.
Well, this idea of a mega site that not necessarily new, but it's kind of new to Mississippi. It seems to really be taking hold, and certainly the governor gets that, having provided and signed off on some grants to use for site development. This is really key. When the suitors come in, they look at a site, they don't really want to have to think about all the things that they'd have to do before they ever get a shovel in the ground. They want it to be kind of shovel ready.
That's true, and that's kind of what our development authority does. Is we work on the water and we work on the sewer, and we've been working with TVA in advance of this so that if we do get a prospect, we're 2 years closer on power, we're 2 years closer on water and sewer, and we think that puts us ahead of our competitors if we're got a prospect in the community.
Yeah. Merrill, when your involvement in these projects, are you also a participant in doing all the various financial analyses and the ROI studies and looking at the various incentive package that might be offered to a suitor?
Sure, I'm involved. I'm fortunate. I get to kind of wear 2 hats. I get to work with the Industrial Development Authority, but then I also get to work on the link side of things.
Okay.
So they're 2 different animals, but they work really well together, and both of them have very distinct things that they do. So I look at all the financial aspects. We look at it from our perspective, like the community's perspective. Is this project going to be a good project for our community, be it tax base, what kind of employees is this company going to have? I look at all that. And then, for the company coming in, does this make good business sense for them to locate here as well? And how can we entice them from a financial standpoint?
Yeah. Do you feel like you've got a good complement of tools at your disposal here in the county? And at the state level to really compete for these projects?
Yes, absolutely. I think, it's been said many times today, this site, along with all the other sites that our team has put together, we're always looking to be 1 and 2 and 3 steps ahead of the next community or the next site that these companies are looking at. And thanks to our tool belt, we've got a lot of advantages against other communities for this site. And that's, in part why we've been so successful here, is just having all the tools in our tool belt and knowing how to use them and when to use them.
Kyle, things are looking up for the state of Mississippi. You guys have had some tremendous success securing major capital investment into the area, new jobs created as a result of that, other projects announced throughout the state. The governor likes to say it's Mississippi's time. He refers to it as Mississippi momentum. Sure seems like that's the case, doesn't it?
It does. I think Mississippi gets a bad rap, and I think people are learning that it's really a good place to do business. And we have the support of the governor. When Joe takes him a project, he's been very supportive of what we're going to do. And we also have the support of the Lowndes County Board of Supervisors. They're not afraid to step out there and take a chance, and they've seen the success that their chances have done that it's brought back to Lowndes County.
That's a good point. It really does require a great relationship with the supervisors, and they've also got to work collaboratively towards the same objective rather than politically, shall we say.
Yeah, and I think our Board of Supervisors does a good job of that. And Joe and Merrill, they keep them really informed. The whole process, there's no surprises. And when they come in, they're on board. They know what's expected, and they really ante up. And they're creative in the way they approach a lot of the things.
Yeah. What are you hearing these days, Merrill, from prospects? What are they telling you their priorities were, or are, I should say? I seem to recall a time not too long ago it was always availability of workforce, and that's still important. That's still critical, but
absolutely,
there are a lot of other elements to that decision as well.
There really is, and workforce will always be an element, and and always a piece to the puzzle. But for us, we've always seen what we call speed to market, and that is mitigating, or how quickly can they get water to their site? Can they get sewer to their site? Can they get a road to their site? Power, that's been huge. What is the driver for these projects? They all have one big driver. And so just having those readily available for them or having it just super fast to be able to get to them, that is always a huge advantage for these companies. That can help them make a decision a lot quicker than other things.
Are you finding that we're faring well against the other states in those categories? Because often, these big projects, they're looking at several possibilities.
Oh, yeah, they're always looking at several possibilities, and there's so many, they're looking at return on investment. They're looking at workforce. They're looking at utilities. They're looking at land availability, even things down to the cost of the land. Is it going to be gifted to them? How is that going to work? So there's a lot of components that goes into their decision, and they desktop model these things, and they've got spreadsheets, and they really drill it down. But we found that they can work their spreadsheets and drill these things down for days and days. But when we get them here and we get their feet on the ground, we say boots on the ground, that's when we can really sell, and that's when they see the advantages of being here.
Nothing like appealing to the senses, right? That goes a long way as well.
Absolutely.
It's true. You get them on site, and they see the community, they see the site itself, and more importantly, they meet the people. And that's been my experience working in economic development. They fall in love with Mississippians.
Well, I think if a lot of people meet Mississippians, that puts us a step ahead of everybody else.
Completely agree. We have a lot to be grateful for there, and we've got to showcase that aspect of Mississippi. It's a good place to live, to work, to raise a family, worship, go to school, and so forth. We do well. We've got federal legislation. It feels like, Kyle, hopefully we get this one big beautiful bill, and there's some tax provisions of that really could spur economic development, particularly with immediate expensing and also possible immediate expensing in total of new factory construction. That's being contemplated as well. That could be a boost.
Well, I hope so. Anything that they can do on the national level that will boost for us, we're open arms.
We got to take advantage of that. Of course, we're in the process now with legislation just signed, Merrill, to eliminate the income tax. That could figure into your recruiting efforts as well.
Absolutely. That's going to play into that whole workforce piece. We've got a large workforce footprint. And when you look at that, that's going to help these people when they're deciding, we talked earlier about who's going to be hired to work at these companies, and that you sometimes got to have some things that are going to make people want to come from somewhere else to work here.
That's right.
And that income tax could really be a game changer for someone who doesn't have that advantage currently.
Yeah. And what it means to the employers is that it's a little easier for them to recruit people and bring people on board as well.
Sure, that's a selling point that they'll have.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, it's been a great day for you guys today, for sure. It's such an honor for us to be here and be a part of it. We appreciate you guys having us. Merrill Fisackerly, Chief Operating Officer of Golden Triangle Development LINK, and Kyle McConnell, Chair, Lowndes County Industrial Development Authority, have been our guests. Thanks, guys. Merrill.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah, appreciate it. Folks, we're stepping aside for a break right now. Once again, we're in the Golden Triangle. We're celebrating the new Cinco mega sites. Big old deal up here, folks. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
It's time for
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Golden Triangle in Mississippi. Today, we're here to celebrate the unveiling of the new Cinco mega site. Will be used, of course, for economic development, the Golden Triangle Development LINK, and also the Lowndes County Industrial Development Authority, big participants in this huge event to announce this huge mega site up here. That's why it's called the mega site. It's on the frontage road at just across the street, actually, from the 4-county electric cooperative. In fact, that's where we are today. And this is going to be a shot in the arm to the economy in this region, already, of course, thriving with some major investments from large companies in the area over the last several years. In fact, one of those is going to join us next, the Representative Jeff Hansen, the Vice President of Environmental Sustainability with Steel Dynamics, Inc., SDI. That, of course, a major project, a major investment here in the area. So it's just good to see big-time economic development going on across the state of Mississippi. And the Golden Triangle is, of course, a huge part of that. So we were talking earlier about the One Big Beautiful Bill. They stayed up all night. You saw that, Rhino, and they stayed up all night in the House. Some of them did. Some of them fell asleep right there in the chamber, and photos were taken of them while they were catching 40 winks there, slumped over, or down, I should say, in their big, beautiful chairs there on the House floor. They were up all night. And there has been some movement, been some progress on getting the bill through. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, still says we're going to get this done. We got to get it done for the American people, etc. But he's running into a bit of resistance from the caucus in the state of New York. They are still working with the Speaker to increase the state and local tax deduction threshold. Presently sits at $10,000. The bill, as drafted, would increase it to $30,000. There are limits on the deduction cap. Households have to make less than $400,000 for a couple filing jointly, or $200,000 for an individual filing. And Ben from Madison on the C Spire text line says, it feels like the SALT caps almost incentivize states and localities to raise taxes. Yeah, I'm not sure if it incentivizes them to raise taxes. The premise behind the original cap in the bill that passed in 2017, because there was no cap prior to that. If you itemized and you had enough of itemized deductions, which would include state and local taxes, and that, of course, includes property taxes. That's the big chunk. If you itemized, there was no limit. But with this new legislation, that passed in 2017, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the so-called Trump tax cuts, that did put a $10,000 threshold on specifically state and local taxes as part of itemized deductions. So ever since then, honestly, Democrats and many Republicans that represent the high-tax, deep blue states, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Illinois, California, those are Massachusetts, those are the main ones that come to mind. They have been clamoring for some reform there. And so they're getting a little bit with the threshold being increased to $30,000. However, the New York representatives, Mike Lawler, Elise Stefanik, Nick LaLota, Tom King, Congressman Young Kim of California, all the prior that I listed were from the state of New York. They're fighting over this, and they're scheduled to meet with the Speaker today to discuss the possibility of raising the cap on the state and local tax deduction. I dare say this probably doesn't affect a whole lot of people in the state of Mississippi, just because even though I know that you hear a lot of complaints about our property taxes, our ad valorem taxes, our car tax as well, that would also qualify. That's a state and local tax for tax purposes. Not nearly as high as what are found in those states. I mean, just the income tax alone in California, 13% on all income over $1 million. Now, you may think that probably excludes a lot of people, but heck, you got to make, don't you, Rhino, about $1 million to afford to live in the state of California. A rather modest lifestyle, something that you could live on about a third in the state of Mississippi. So that's an issue that we'll see where that lands. We were talking about reforms to the SNAP program, the Medicaid program as well, which are expected to save money. Mainly in the SNAP program, it's shifting more of the responsibility to the states to ensure that only proper payments are made. In this case, it would be SNAP benefits, that any situations where the federal government finds out that, you provided these benefits to people who didn't truly qualify for them, there'll be some clawbacks, some penalties. They're trying to get the states more involved in administering the programs away from, Rhino, what you have described as it's a not my problem. That's prevalent in those programs. And on the C Spire text line, I know several people on disability, and there's nothing at all wrong with them other than they are too sorry to work. Rhino, I would hazard to say that may be the way federal benefits are scammed more than any others, is this notion of being disabled because you qualify for a bunch of benefits that makes sense when you're truly disabled. But if you just say, I get a headache every now and then, and you show up at the Social Security office, this, Rhino, let's sign you up. Okay, here's your disability benefits. And then along with that can come SNAP benefits and housing assistance and a slate of other welfare that you really don't deserve. It should be reserved for those who truly do need some assistance as a result of their disability. And unfortunately, we really don't have the mechanisms in place, especially when we're, if you think about it, relying on people. As you have described, people who say that's a not my problem. And that's not going to rein in these extraneous wasteful spending to people on benefits to people who really do not deserve them. So Thomas in Greenwood says the Delta doctors will help you get disability for a cut of the benefits. Well, that, of course, would be illegal, and that would be collusion. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but that's why I say that you're going to need more than just people to expose those situations and to stop that wasteful spending. You're going to have some novel creative technology, I believe, that can identify those who are not truly eligible because they're not really disabled. Many get disability who should not. Some deserving don't qualify. Hard to understand how it works. I mean, and that's on the C Spire text line, the whole concept, I guess, of disability benefits, it's just a tough one to get your arms around, no doubt about it. Is there any Tim for Tupelo, are there any companies looking into erecting SMR reactors in Mississippi? I don't know of any specific plans, Rhino, that I've heard of for small modular reactors in Mississippi, but one thing we do know after the Power Up Mississippi initiative was announced by the governor a couple of weeks ago is that he made it very clear, we're looking at an all-the-above energy strategy to power our future, and our public service commissioners have also indicated they're fully on board, and that includes, he specifically explicitly said, that includes nuclear. So I dare say that with the explosion of data centers happening in the state of Mississippi, I think we're going to see that. I think it's just a natural progression in meeting our future energy needs. You heard the folks, John Bradley, Senior VP of Economic Development of TVA, talk about working with customers who are thinking and working towards behind-the-meter energy sources. That would be such an example where small modular reactor could power a plant, power a data center campus that would be owned and operated by the company itself. I think that's in our future. I think that's going to be a way that we power our future throughout the country. That it's exciting, and I'm glad to see our governor is embracing that, and as well as our public service commissioners, because that's like toxic to the Democrats in this country. Let's see here. What's tough is when you need the disability like my wife due to spine injury and is a stay-at-home mom currently, and the hoops you have to jump through are unreal. I get they try to make it where you can't take advantage of the system 100%, but man, it's unreal to get approved. And in spite of that's on the C Spire text line. In spite of that, we still have scams and improper payments going on. Once again, Jeff Hansen with Steel Dynamics is our guest next. We're at the Golden Triangle in the Golden Triangle region of Mississippi, celebrating the new Cinco mega site.
Poly up a...
Come on.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
All right, we are back
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. We're live today from the Golden Triangle. We're here to celebrate the unveiling of the new Cinco mega site. It's a big deal, big announcement here today, big celebration as it should be. We're pleased to recognize now Jeff Hansen, the Vice President of Environmental Sustainability with Steel Dynamics, also known as commonly as SDI. Jeff, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Appreciate the opportunity, Gerard.
So you guys have made a substantial investment in the area. How's that going for you?
Well, you're correct. It is a substantial investment. We really entered the area back in 2014,
right?
With the steel mill, the flat rolled steel mill. That's a 3 million ton facility right near the Golden Triangle Airport. Really like the community, really like the area, really like the people, the suppliers, the employment, economic development folks. It's been a great location for us. So building on that, we now have a facility with Aluminum Dynamics. It's a $2 billion facility that's under construction and beginning to get to the point of ramping up and starting up production. And then also on top of that, we've got a biocarbon facility that is a $300 million investment. That also is finishing up construction and getting ready to start production. So lots of energy, lots of investment, and lots of support from the community in that.
So in your role, Jeff, as VP of Environmental Sustainability, tell the folks exactly what does that mean?
So as the largest recycler in North America, Steel Dynamics very much values a circular manufacturing model. And what that means is we try to take things at the end of their life, bring them back as scrap or recycled materials, and then convert that back into something useful. So with our steel mill is a perfect example. We have a subsidiary called OmniSource, where those recycled contents get processed by OmniSource, our wholly owned subsidiary, brought back to our steel mills. We use a lot of electricity to melt that scrap down and then convert it back into finished product. And so environmental sustainability, decarbonization, our customers, investors, very much interested in us continuing to reduce our carbon footprint, reduce our energy, reduce our costs. All those things play together in my world of environmental sustainability and decarbonization.
How has the technology advanced in that area, Jeff, that permits that sort of cycle like that?
So our founders of Steel Dynamics were instrumental in developing the flat rolled steel making, or the electric arc furnace steel making capability that the United States is a leader. About 75% of the steel that's manufactured in the United States is manufactured utilizing electric arc furnaces, where scrap is the primary ingredient. The rest of the world, the average is probably closer to 25 or 30%. So there's been a lot of investment done by private companies that aren't subsidized by foreign governments to achieve these outcomes, and it's really help to drive that economic engine here in the U.S.
Well, besides, again, protecting the environment and achieving the goals of environmental sustainability, is there, to your point, is there an economic benefit as well to that process?
I would say that there can be, and that's largely driven by interest from customers and investors. They're the ones that are really asking the question of us, what else can we do? Because their customers and investors are asking the same questions. So typically, our carbon footprint is a majority of their carbon footprint. So anything we can do helps them. And really, that was a big driver behind the SDI biocarbon project that's underway. We use anthracite coal in our processes to make the steel, and what we're developing is a process to take woody biomass, pulpwood, thinnings from the local area here, process in a way that we can convert that into a high carbon product that is a direct replacement for coal and dramatically reduces that footprint. So it's really about continuing that circular manufacturing model, building upon the resources that are in the community, creating new jobs, creating new opportunity, and also reducing our carbon footprint at the same time.
Interesting. Now, I got about a minute left. Are you doing this to conform with law, or are you exceeding law in many cases?
In this case, greenhouse gases in the United States are not.
Right.
They're not regulated. So this is entirely voluntary on our part. We see an opportunity to further differentiate ourselves from our competition and to drive that additional interest in the products that we make. So that goes to the flat rolled steel mill. It goes to the aluminum dynamics project as well.
Makes total sense. Jeff, appreciate it. Enjoyed it. Yeah,
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Jeff Hansen, VP of Environmental Sustainability with Steel Dynamics here in the Golden Triangle. Folks, we're stepping aside for a break. It's top of the hour, and that means it is time for Fox News and SuperTalk News. We got another hour here in the Golden Triangle. We're celebrating the unveiling of the new Cinco mega site. Stay with us.
Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's hour 3, the afternoon portion of MidDays. We are once again live. The Element Well studio relocated today to the Golden Triangle area of Mississippi. We're here to celebrate the new Cinco mega site. It will be a critical asset in spurring economic development here in the Golden Triangle region on this
Friday Eve.
All right, man. We're here. We're ready to go with the hour 3 of the program. So it's been fun up here, Rhino. These people are great folks, really class of Mississippi, and you can see why they've had so much success in economic development, collaborative effort amongst all the various organizations involved, locally, county, statewide as well, and you know they're going to succeed with this project. So good stuff for the state of Mississippi. I've enjoyed getting to meet all the great people in the area.
Speaking of succeeding on a project, we do need to kind of put out a public service announcement for one Mississippian that needs our help to succeed tonight.
What's that?
That would be Jamal Roberts on American Idol. He's in the top 3. The finale's tonight. I want to say it airs at 7 o'clock on ABC, and you got to vote. You can vote up to 30 times, and
cool.
With enough Mississippians getting together and voting for him, we could have a Mississippi winner.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you passing that on. That's pretty exciting. I didn't even know that. That is pretty cool. All right, something you might want to be aware of. is that the post office is scheduled to raise shipping charges by over 6%. That's going to come, I think, later on in this year. Yep, effective July 13th. They have filed a notice with the Postal Regulatory Commission. This, of course, after the U.S. Postal Service just posted, how about that, a $3.3 billion net loss for second quarter of fiscal year 2025. It's just a losing proposition, delivery of the mail. But one of the key contributors to their losses, and has been for quite some time, their pensions. That's what's dragging them down, man. And no end in sight on that. Pensions, defined benefit plans are just a problem everywhere, including in the state of Mississippi with the Public Employees Retirement System, all of which across the country are wreaking havoc on budgets at all levels. Sometimes it's local. It could be county, state, some private companies, and, of course, the United States Postal Service. What's that?
American Idol's not till Sunday.
Oh, shoot. Okay. So
I was
Sunday.
looking at the completely wrong day on my little list of things here. But yeah,
Repeat
coming up
it
on
again,
Sunday.
though. Yeah, tell us about it again.
On Sunday at 7 o'clock on ABC, the finale for American Idol. Jamal Roberts is in the top 3. Go vote for him. You can vote up to 30 times with the little app thingy there. And, yeah, we got a chance to win.
Very cool. What about the news on Pete Rose and other deceased players? They have been removed from the Major League Baseball's permanently ineligible list for the Hall of Fame. How about that?
I said it yesterday. It's good that they're finally going to get the recognition in Cooperstown, but this feels like it's way, way, way too late for someone like Shoeless Joe Jackson, when his innocence has been argued since the 30s. Like, it's nothing new that people understand he had nothing to do with a gambling scheme that didn't even have enough evidence to get them found guilty in court.
So true. So how old is Pete now? He's in his 80s,
He's past now. That's the only reason they're letting this happen, is because Pete Rose will not be alive to be inducted.
That's right. All that are not alive. You're correct. My apologies there. So, wow, this is just incredible news, though. I didn't see this coming. Did you?
Kinda, because there's been enough of a push for this to happen that it's not surprising. I didn't see it coming, but it's not all that surprising.
Yeah.
It's just, I wish he could have got in while he was still around. It's just too little too late from, well, I'll be nice because he's, well, no, I just, there's not a radio-friendly way to talk about the commissioner of Major League Baseball. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I would agree. That's, well, it's sort of sad, I guess, at this point to see that they weren't around, to experience the distinction and the honor. But, here we are. I just tuned in. Where is the Cinco megasite located and how many acres is it? 1,440, I believe, the number of acres involved in the megasite. And it is on the frontage road on Highway 82, which, of course, extends between I-55 to the west and I-20-59 to the east, I-22 north, U.S. Highway 45. So you kind of have a crossroads situation is where it is located, right across the street from our location here today, and we're at Ford County Electric Power Association. So it's beautiful land. And I really think it was wise on the part of our developers in the area and our state, of course, to construct these various really nice 4-lane roads that service this region. That is critical in economic development. So that's where we are. Biden called Pete Rose to congratulate him, said CC in Senatobia. A day late and $1 short on the C Spire text line. You made me think there, CC, about Biden, Rhino. It was, about this time last year when he was at the G7 summit and he was having to be led around?
If I'm not mistaken, we're exactly a year to the date of when he agreed to debate Trump.
Okay.
When they put out that video with like 8 jump cuts in it because he couldn't get through 2 sentences without bumbling.
I do remember that. I remember you playing it for us, and you counted the cuts in it. I think you said like there were 13 cuts in it, and it's like 3-minute video or something like that. But what I remember was the video of him. He was at Normandy. Is that right? Where was he? Where Prime Minister Meloni from Italy had to direct him in the correct direction. Remember that? He was having to be like led around by the PM of Italy.
Yeah, that was early June of last year.
Okay. What is it at Normandy? Is that where they were?
Yeah, he was they were having the paratroopers or the paratrooper reenactors landing.
Yeah.
And there was a group of them over on this area off camera, but all the other dignitaries are like looking at the camera, talking to the paratroopers in front of him. Well, he's wandering off to look at the flowers, and, there's other paratroopers over there. So that was the excuse they gave was, he was going to greet the other paratroopers.
That's right.
300 yards away.
And now these bombshell reports about the cover-up that was going on, and it was a cover-up, that are supposed to be accounted for, memorialized in the book, right? In a book that's coming out that's going to tell all.
Yeah, by somebody that would do everything but cut your head off if you said that Biden had any problems beforehand.
Exactly.
The dude lied to your face. Jake Tapper lied to your face day in and day out, and if you tried to tell him the truth, he would jump down your throat. And now he's trying to take your money to get you to buy a book to read all the salacious crap he was hiding from you because he doesn't know how to do his job. He just knows to be a talking puppet for the Democrat Party and the loser leftists.
Yep. Well, what made me think about it, because I thought it was a year ago, it's just the image of that, and which just projects weakness. And the American president should never show as being subjugated to other world leaders. And he did then. And I know I've said this many times on the show before, President Trump in his first term when he attended the G7 summit and they were walking between venues and with all the leaders were, and he recognized he was kind of behind the rest of them, and he shouldered his way, kind of elbowed his way up through the ranks so that he was in the front, and that's where the American president should be. But think about what he did in the last couple of days. I mean, he gave like half a dozen speeches, including one where he ad-libbed a lot to the U.S. military assembled there, I think, in Qatar. He cut deals with Saudi Arabia, secured $1.2 trillion of investment from Qatar. Got an artificial intelligence deal working with the UAE. He brought American companies with him that were cutting deals, and they secured a huge airline contract for Boeing to build planes. We're coming right back.
Covering the stories that matter most to Mississippians. Gerard Gibert. Middays with Gerard. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Golden Triangle in Mississippi. We are here because they're unveiling the new Cinco mega site, newly minted mega site, ready for prime time. It is here in the Golden Triangle. It's our pleasure to welcome now Ray Hollis, Workforce Business Outreach and Training Manager at the East Mississippi Community College Communiversity right down the street here. Ray, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, glad to be here.
So you might be busy with all this economic development that has already been going on in the region, but there's going to be a whole lot more coming to take advantage of this 1,440-acre beautiful mega site.
Without a doubt. I mean, we provide training to upcoming companies, ones that are on their way locating in, pre-employment, meeting the current need and then trying to prepare for these upcoming needs. We're ever expanding programs all the time. So I tell everybody a schedule and nightmare is what I really want, because that means we're actually providing the services that's needed.
And I've said it before, we've done the show up here, of course, several times. It's a fantastic concept that I think has paid dividends. But, Ray, I think it's fair to say that we haven't always seen this level of collaboration between the private sector and the academic community, but you guys are sort of the poster child for that, and it's paying benefits, and I think it's a key reason why companies seek this area to locate.
Well, the building, the community itself, just speaks volumes.
It's incredible.
East Mississippi as a whole provides all types of trainings, credit and non-credit, and bringing those workforce training, events into that building, it speaks for itself. When you got a potential company that comes in and sees the capability and our ability to be able to just on demand change the training environment. So workforce, we're able to just say, what do you need? We look at that. Once we see the need, what do we have in place? What can we tweak to meet that company's need? So we're not reinventing the wheel, but what it is, there's a typical training that you have for everybody. There's kind of a standard set of skills that everybody's going to need to go into manufacturing, right? We provide that, but then we want to get into the specifics for that company, and that's where we tailor it. So we do a lot of contractual training.
Okay.
We work with the state for pre-employment, what's needed for the current industries, what's needed for upcoming industries. So we got a lot of great partners in our area that provide that, that knowledge set for us. But the one thing we tell everybody is the company needs to tell us, hey, what do you need?
Yeah.
And we can start working on that from day one. So when we meet with them, my job is to listen. Now, if I take you on a tour, you're going to hear me tell you everything that we can offer. But at the end of it, it's what do you need specifically? You've seen what we have. Is there something that we don't have that we can develop for you? So the flexibility, the support from the state that we have for this workforce initiative, the support from our local community, the industries in the area. I will say this, I'm busy, but I've got so much support, it just makes it easy. And I may seem overwhelmed, running around like a chicken with my head cut off, but at the end of the day, we're able to meet this because of the support system that we have in this area.
That's fantastic to hear, and I think it's so refreshing just to hear that we don't have this sort of wedge that existed for so many decades, again, between the private sector and the educational world, where the educational institutions didn't seem to really solicit that sort of input from industry, but you're doing that. You just said it. You're sitting down, you're listening. What is it you need?
Yeah, so career technical, they have a set, the curriculum, the state, they get together and they say, here's the skills that will transfer across the state into these areas. But then what we do on the workforce side is we take that standard set and then we say, okay, what specific aspects of it do we need to add to meet your need as a company? What do we need to increase training in? Is there a company coming in that has a real high machining need? We need to increase our open enrollment, pre-employment, our career technical classes to meet that need on the front end. So the good thing is with these projects, we know ahead of time what's coming. So we can start gearing up the workforce in our area ahead of time. We can start offering those classes. We do it, it's been tried, it's been tested, it works. We get asked all the time, well, where are these employees going to come from? Well, we're going to train them. Somebody that leaves one manufacturing industry to go to another, well, we're training the person to backfill that spot right now.
Interesting. Yeah, that's fantastic. So have you ever had a situation, Ray, where a company that's looking for a particular type of training comes to you, and maybe you don't have the assets, you don't have the resources, but at that particular time, but you figure out a way to satisfy that need?
Well, that is exactly what we do. So we utilize the current equipment we have. The state's really good, across the credit and the non-credit side, that we don't say this is our equipment, this is your equipment, this is equipment to train the workforce.
Okay.
So we can utilize anything that we have currently. We work with the people at the state level, whenever through special projects, if we know it's coming, to bring the specialized equipment in. We're doing that now. We're just starting a new program coming up with aviation manufacturing. And, that's all in part of what the industry said they needed, who we partnered with, bringing everybody together. We've got robotics trainings that are increased because we know that need. Mississippi's ever advancing. How are we going to meet that need? So we look at it. So the answer is that, yes, we can provide that training if we don't have the resident expert in-house, but the company has the person that needs to provide that training. There's ways for us to incorporate them in and provide it.
Okay. So you get creative to figure it out.
Every day, every company's need is different.
Yeah.
So we've got to listen to them as an individual.
Well, again, that's a bit of, I think, a departure from more traditional education where it was fairly rigid, fairly dogmatic, but that doesn't work today.
It doesn't. I mean, like I said, everybody needs to know how to read a tape measure. Everybody needs to know how to read a blueprint, right?
Yeah.
But the work processes, the prints for that particular company, there's going to be a little, nuances in there that we're going to have to incorporate into that training. So getting that rapid return and turnaround for them is huge for us.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, and just being able to produce workers that of course experience this training and they're ready to hit the ground running. That's really the goal of these companies, is it not? So that when they finish with their instruction under you guys' purview, that they show up on the work site, at the plant, the factory, whatever the situation may be, they're ready to go to work.
That's our goal. Our goal is to get them to shorten that onboarding process.
Okay.
Now, there's some training that we do, the pre-employment, open enrollment, that we're doing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When a company comes in, they may pull participants from that. We just ask if they interview them. These people have a work-ready set of skills. But we also do contractual training specific to the company. So the company, we work with them and we develop a training plan that meets their exact need. And a lot of times these people are already working for the company and they send them to training for us. So we do a lot of upskilling as well. We may take somebody that was an assembler and give them some CNC training. Now they're able to move into an operator role at a facility. So when I say we're ever changing and we just want to meet that immediate need for that company, we don't know what it looks like. The company, as long as they're letting us know, we're going to work to meet that need.
That's got to be a win-win, right? The company gets the labor resources that they need with the skills they need, and the worker has an opportunity to move up the ladder.
That, traditional education was, either I went into a manufacturing facility and then I went to work, or you went to college. That was in the 90s whenever I come out. You made a choice of which way, or you went to the military. And what we have now is, and what I found, it's better to have some type of training, some type of credential or certificate, whether it's an associate's degree, whether it's a work-ready certificate, and then go work in that facility. Now you get that set of skills, and as these other companies come in, you may have an opportunity to move on. Gone is the day of, I worked for this company, I live here, I'm there for 30 years, and, in the past it was a stigma. You left, you're never coming back. What we found is these companies, that people will go work in an industry for about, 4 or 5 years, get a promotion, get an opportunity to move on, they learn a new set of skills. Well, those companies are welcoming them back. Mm-hmm. They come back with another set of skills that's going to make the company better. So when I say it's a revolving wheel, you don't know where you're going to land, but if you've got that base set of skills, you come in with some type of degree, a certificate or something like that, you're going to be better prepared to move on to those other jobs.
Well, let's be honest, there are not many jobs anymore that are static, that are like permanent. That's what you're going to do forever and ever.
I have changed roles now. I started in manufacturing, so all of our trainers have to have industry experience. All of our career technical instructors, you have to have industry experience before you can come in and teach. So you're coming from the field. So I had 17 years in manufacturing. I'm in education now. So it's a learning curve, but the thing is, I went through this. I lived it. So I've got a different perspective when it comes to it that I want to, guide others along that path as well.
Makes total sense. That's fantastic, Ray. Enjoy hearing so much about that, because that no doubt is playing a critical role in scaling the economy and the wealth, honestly, the prosperity of our state. Ray Hollis, Workforce Business Outreach and Training Manager at East Mississippi Community College, the Communiversity, folks, right down the street. If you haven't seen it, you need to come see it. You'll be blown away, I promise. Appreciate it, Ray. Thanks,
yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Folks, we're stepping aside for a break. Once again, we're in the Golden Triangle region of Mississippi. We're here to celebrate the Cinco mega site. We got half an hour of middays remaining. Stay with us.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
It is on
SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. Middays is live from the Golden Triangle. The Cinco mega site celebration is happening later on this afternoon. 2 o'clock is the scheduled time when that celebration will get underway. We're actually set up here, the Element Wealth Studio, at the headquarters for 4 County Electric Power Association. And out in the parking lot, they've got the tents and the chairs all set up for the big announcement. It's actually not, I think, the initial announcement, but rather just kind of the celebration of the announcement. Cinco 5 mega site. That's it. Here just down the street from the Communiversity in Lowndes County between Starkville and Columbus. So we were talking before we went to break, before we interviewed Ray Hollis. Great discussion with him from the Workforce Business Outreach and Training Center at the East Mississippi Community College Communiversity, right down the street. He serves as the manager of that organization, that department. And what a winning formula that is when you've got local educational institutions such as the East Mississippi Community College working directly with industry partners in the area to develop curricula that prepare workers for the jobs that they need them to work in these various businesses, the factories, the distribution facilities, the aluminum and steel plants, et cetera. That's the way it should be. Instead of just, we don't really care what you need, this is what we're going to teach. And that's the way it worked for a long time in this country. There was this chasm between the educational community and industry. And so industry would hire folks, even with degrees, but then have to train them before they could be productive and do anything of value. And that's not the way it is anymore. So it's good to see that Mississippi has embraced that concept. And as you heard Ray say, yeah, we listen. So that's good stuff. The president, just thinking about last year being led around like a puppy dog by Giorgia Meloni, the prime minister of Italy, last year at the G7 summit. This year, this president, Trump, goes to the Middle East and starts talking about doing business deals. Now, I can think of no better way than to deter threats than to have some common economic interest. They're just not likely to think about any sort of attacks or targeting or hostile action against a business partner. That would make no sense. And the president gets that. So he goes to this Saudi U.S. investment summit. And the room is full of people from the respective countries, including many of the chief executives of American companies in the audience there. The president brings them with him. They treat him like gold. And he just talks about common sense business deals. How can we work together to improve the economies of our respective countries and do deals? So he essentially sets the stage, for example, for Boeing, who gets an order while they're there. Just yesterday, from Qatar Airways. They're going to buy 210 jets. That's their biggest order ever for wide-body aircraft, says the Boeing company. 130 of Boeing's 787 Dreamliners, 30 of the 777-9s, which are delayed, options for up to 50 more planes. This is what Qatar Airlines said in a press release. This is just so neat to think about the American president who steps into this environment, into this region, brings these American companies with him. He not only secures $1.2 trillion of investment, capital investment in this country from Qatar, but roughly $1 trillion from Saudi Arabia. So he's got that going on, while at the same time securing contracts, purchases, sales from American companies to these nations. NVIDIA cutting a deal for its GPUs in the UAE, who seeks to become a major player in the artificial intelligence industry. Supermicro, they're the guys that make the multi-processor servers. There's dual processor servers, which include NVIDIA's GPUs, along with the standard central processing unit. They're optimized for artificial intelligence. Well, they're going to buy a bunch of that stuff as well. You got companies that are in the data center design and construction and maintenance business that are in the United Arab Emirates cutting deals. American companies exporting their goods and services. This is fantastic. This is what an American president should do. Do you think there's any chance, and you know what, that Joe Biden could do this? How about worse than that? How about Kamala Harris facilitating these sorts of transactions?
Oh, that is a sad mental image.
I can't see it. It wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. She'd be over there laughing like a dang goose. It doesn't understand this sort of stuff.
Well, there's a lot
this president does. What's that?
There's a lot Kamala doesn't understand. When to put the bottle down.
So true. But I started thinking about that. We got two-way business going on. We got those countries making massive investments into our country, committing to do so, and we got those countries buying goods and services from American providers of such that are all part of the entourage with the dispatch there with the president. That's the way it ought to work. The problem we've had in the past with these career politicians such as Joe Biden, he doesn't understand, or Kamala Harris, they don't understand the private sector whatsoever. They don't. They've never been exposed to it, never made a payroll, never had to make business decisions, especially when their lives and livelihood depended on it. So they don't think like that. They are always thinking about government. And it's like there's no place in the mix for business. And this president brings in American businesses on this trip with him, delivers half a dozen speeches, and you know what else he did, Rhino, we talk about? He answered every question that was asked of him while he was there. I mean, like more yesterday than Joe Biden did in his entire 4-year term. And he's not even on American soil. This is fantastic. He doesn't shy away from them. The questions from reporters. He's cutting deals. So I think he's going a long way towards securing peace in the region, dropping sanctions against Syria, which I think was totally unexpected, because they're trying to do business deals. He's talking to Iran about, look, we'll do some deals with you, and we'll help your country. No nukes. Get it? No nukes. And Rhino, you and I have talked about this. You could go look up, guys, images of Iran in the 70s. Rhino, it looked like the typical American city if you see images of the landscape around major Iranian cities.
Yeah, you take a boardwalk picture from sunny Southern California in 1972 and take a picture of Tehran, Iran, downtown, 1972. You'd have a hard time picking the difference between the two. It's just nice, bright, clean, sunshiny, and wow, things have changed in both of those locations.
And women aren't running around with their faces covered and trailing the men and so forth. Imagine how much better the world would be if we could reinstate that sort of environment in this country, which has been harboring terrorists and threatening a nuclear program. If we could just get them out of that mode and reestablish some sort of business relationship, things would change. And we wouldn't be worried all the dang time about them blowing up the place with nukes or worse yet, facilitating and harboring terrorists who then attack innocent civilians, such as what happened in Israel. It's just incredible. And we can focus on building the respective economies of our countries and improving the financial well-being of everyone. Tim and McGee asks, Gerard, wonder why the Republican senators such as Mr. Wicker vote with Democrats sometimes and Democrats never vote on a bill that the Republicans want. We've asked that same question, Tim. It's why I've been critical of those who sided with Democrats in voting for things like the CHIPS Act, the Infrastructure Act, the Omnibus Bill. I agree. I hear you, Tim, and it is exactly the case. We're not likely to get a single Democrat that will dissent and support the one big beautiful bill legislation.
Because they know they'd get primaried the next time they went to the ballot box.
That's exactly right, which again just reconfirms that this unfortunate problem we have that all lawmaking is done with an eye towards the next election cycle. We're coming right back with the final segment.
At Watkins, Middays with Gerard.
Good for America. Good for fans of justice and truth. Good for us.
SuperTalk, Mississippi.
This is what we stand for.
Welcome back, everyone. The final segment of Middays from the Golden Triangle region of Mississippi, celebrating the new Cinco megasite coming to the area. So we were just talking about this stark contrast between a president who gets more done in 24 hours than the prior one did in 4 years, if you could say that he accomplished anything, being led around like a puppy dog by president, or the prime minister, I should say, of Italy at the G7 summit. So things are just different when you have the leader of a country projecting strength and seriousness and understanding how to build and develop strong working relationships, even with your adversaries. That certainly does not mean that you need to capitulate and acquiesce to them whatsoever. No, you need to negotiate from a position of strength. But it's a whole lot better if we could get these people to discontinue their hostile intentions and maybe focus on some business opportunities and business deals. And that's what the president was doing yesterday and promoting. And again, securing multiple investments from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, while at the same time American companies getting orders. I mean, Boeing says, which by the way hasn't made a profit since 2018. And they said this is the biggest order they've ever received. And Rhino, I think you and I have mentioned this before, a big factor in them not making profit was the way in which and the degree to which they leaned into the entire DEI nonsensical radical ideology. I mean, they went full force in it. And it's like, no, you need to be making airplanes that don't fall out of the sky.
Don't have
and
doors
get
fall
people.
off of them in the middle of the
Right.
flight.
Exactly. So maybe and I think they have. I've read reports where they have abandoned much of that in their operations and returning to, just a non-crazy merit performance-based standards environment, which is what they should have been doing all along. So this is good news, and now they got a big order. And I maintain that's why they're late delivering Air Force One. Now, I don't have any proof of that. It's just a hunch that maybe they're too worried about all this DEI stuff and not about their core business, and that's interfering and impeding their ability to deliver. So the president accepts a 747 newly minted from the nation of Qatar. Larry and Mize asks, do you think we should accept the plane? I have concerns about it. I'm sort of mixed about it. On the one hand, I say, man, they want to give you a $400 million asset. How do you say no to that? On the other, you worry about the optics and you worry about any possible connection to future quid pro quos. I say this, Larry, I'd be a lot more worried if it were Joe Biden in the office of the president receiving such a gift. I'm not as worried about this president that sees it as some way to curry favor. And it's just a hunch. Again, it's just a gut feeling I have about that. I will say this. Let's be honest.
I'm just sick of hearing about the plane. It's the newest Maryland man. It's drummed up by the mainstream media to try to get you to get angry at Trump because they all suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. Every stinking talking head on every major news network has Trump derangement syndrome coming out their ears.
And refuse to acknowledge any of the successes like what happened in the last couple of days. Again, because a business person who projects strength, who understands the leverage he has at his disposal, with the most powerful, being the president of the most powerful nation on the planet. And even in his speech to the military yesterday, Rhino, you saw that, he ad-libbed quite a bit. And he basically said, we have the greatest military ever envisioned. We have the, what'd he say? I'm paraphrasing a bit. We got the most technically advanced airplanes and missiles, and all of our assets and all of our military might exceeds dramatically that of other countries. And he said, but our most precious asset is you guys, is the men and women that serve in our armed forces. And again, we got a Secretary of Defense who is reinstating and restoring merit and performance standards and the focus on lethality and not stupid privilege walks and white rage and crap like that. Gosh, what a difference it makes. So it may be some things you disagree with respect to the president, and I don't completely accept and support every policy, but you cannot deny his commitment to America first. It's unmistakable and irrefutable. Folks, we're out of time here today. That's a wrap. We're going to be at Itawamba Community College tomorrow for graduation. Looking forward to that. Until then, stay safe and God bless everyone.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.